Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good.
A bit tired, but it's been a long couple of days.
So, for the uninitiated, Jack, talk us through the thrust and the purpose of this thread, which, as I mentioned, has now hit about 15 million views.
Well, every year when the inflation figures are announced, or just at random, really, I'll do a price comparison of the cost of groceries over like this year and the year before, and it was just that, really. It was just a standard. This is how much things used to cost for people who are on the breadline, or people who are sort of scrabbling around at the margins of affordability, and this is how much those things cost now. This is the difference. It's never, it's never ever taken off like this before.
Which speaks of both resonance and recognition. I think you've exposed a reality that many people felt was not being reported or recognised. Well, they didn't just feel it; it wasn't being reported or recognised for reasons that you explain in your thread. So, in a nutshell, it's the difference between a relatively context-free figure like 5% appearing in a news report, and the difference in what it would cost you to buy a tin of beans or a packet of pasta in the average supermarket today compared to what it would cost last month or last year.
Yeah, I mean, my radio comes on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and to wake me up with a nice little blast of news. And that day, it was 2 days ago now, I'd literally been woken up by the radio saying that the cost of living had gone up 5.4%. And I was like, oh, God, more expenses. And just sort of had a little grumble to myself and gone about my day. And then I went to do, I was in the kitchen cooking up a recipe, and I was online costing it up.
Yeah.
As I do every day. And I'd started to notice the price jumps, like literally from a few days before. And that 5.4% figure from the radio was still rattling around in my head.
Yeah.
And I was just getting more and more furious as the day was going on. Like, I was trying to type up this broccoli pasta I'd made. And I was just raging at this alleged 5% figure, to the point where I had to work it out and say something, because I couldn't focus on anything. I was just literally rattling around in a fury. And I think that's resonated with people, because over the amount of people who've got in touch and said, oh yeah, I knew my food bills were going up. I never just sat down and calculated it, or saying that they thought they were going mad because things were getting smaller, but they were staying the same price and stuff. And I think the reason why it's taken off the way that it has now is because food insecurity. I mean, I've been campaigning on food insecurity for 10 years, and I suppose for a lot of people, food insecurity is something that has been an abstract problem that happens to other people. And the last 2 years, where people have lost jobs, or jobs have become insecure, or even when there were those food shortages at the start of the first lockdown, food insecurity ceased to be an abstract concept that happened to the worst off, and became something that actually crept into the majority of households across the UK.
Some of these figures are staggering, aren't they? And I'll pick on the mushrooms, if I may, because they highlight something that people may not have noticed. You track that they were 59 pence for 400 grams this time last year, and now you're looking at 57 pence for 250 grams, which you calculate as a price increase of 56%. That's quite commonplace, reducing the amount so the price looks the same, but in fact the price has gone up as I say, in this case by 56%. A bag of small apples from 59p to 89p, and the apples possibly have got smaller.
Oh, the apples are smaller.
Yeah,
They
no, I
are
believe you.
half the size. They're like literally bites, like gone in a mouthful.
bread from 45p to 58p, and baked beans, another staple, from 22p to 32p. We'll get stuck into this later with callers, but the bit that really struck me was the comparison with what I suppose we would call more upmarket supermarket shopping. So, go on. You tell people what that's about.
So, I've basically kept a running cost of those basic ingredients simply by writing my blog for the last 10 years, because I cost up recipes to the penny. So I've got a written record of how much things have cost over the last 10 years.
Yes, of course.
So as a measure of comparison, I've always also kept a record of a certain upmarket store's dine-in for £2 for £10.
Who could that be?
And a certain upmarket ready meal company, just as a point of comparison, because I just go, well, ever since David Cameron, with his first lot of austerity measures, we're all in it together. I'm like, well, how in it together are we? When basic stock cubes used to cost 10p in 2010, 2011, and they're now 40p.
God.
That's, but the ready meal was £7.50 in 2011 and is still £7.50 today. Now, if we were really all in it together and that ready meal was subject to inflation at the same rate as, say, the cheapest rice at the supermarket, that ready meal would be nearly £26 today. And the dine-in for £2 for £10 would be £34.40.
This isn't an opinion, this is just counting. If it had gone up, if your posh supermarket lasagna had gone up at the same rate as the cheapest packet of rice, it would now cost £25.80.
Yeah.
Which means people like me might have noticed more.
Yeah, so actually the people who have the least are once again being asked to shoulder the financial burdens of balancing the books. And it's always the case. Now, that 55p price increase on a bag of rice, if that 55p price increase could have been put on a £7.50 lasagna, and I can tell you now that people buying the £7.50 lasagna would not even have blinked at it.
No. You're right.
Because if you've got £7.50 to spend on a microwave meal, you've got £8 to spend on it. Let's be fair. If you're that daft,
all right. There's no need to get personal.
Oh, that was a bit of a revealing response, James.
We make our own these days, but every now and then, when you're in a hurry.